0%, 0 miles of range, no battery. Oh, it's turtle. That's full throttle, 28 miles an hour. All right, I'm calling it. Andre, I'm calling it. We're out of electricity.
Oh, here's your little blueberry. Is that what you call it?
A little more. Stop. Back up. Can we charge it while driving?
And the big moment comes now, because I release my brake and I'm gonna put it into drive.
Hey Andre, check it out. This is my electric blueberry. This is a 2014 Chevy Spark EV, and admittedly, it is not a truck, but I want to see how far I can go on a single charge, see how far to go before it's completely out of energy, so I need your help.
Alright, so it's like a range test on the car.
Yes, but I think the more interesting aspect is, can the new F-150 PowerBoost with the 7.2 kilowatt inverter charge it back up?
Yeah, that's what we want to find out, especially while towing the car on a trailer.
Right, so it's going to be kind of a torture test for the F-150. It's going to be an interesting test for the little Spark.
Absolutely nothing beats cruising around in a 700 horsepower supercharged truck with the windows down, feeling the wind in your hair. But here's something a little startling. 2 out of 3 guys are going to experience some form of male pattern baldness by the time they're only 35 years old. And did you know that the best way to treat that is to get ahead of it while you still have some hair left? You used to have to go to a doctor to get a prescription, but now, thanks to Keeps, you can visit a doctor online and get hair loss medication sent straight to your home. Keeps offers the only 2 FDA-approved hair loss products out there to save your hair, and one you've never seen for this price. If you're ready to take action and prevent hair loss, go to keeps.com/TFL truck or click the link in the description to receive 50% off your first order. That's KEEPS.com/TFL truck. The sooner you start using Keeps, the more hair you'll save.
We're trying something a little bit different in this video. It's a very thorough, long, and in-depth review of both the Chevrolet Spark and the charging capabilities of the Ford F-150 PowerBoost. If you want to skip to the parts that interest you most, be sure to check out the timestamp and use that little skimmer at the bottom of the screen.
If you've been watching TFL Truck, you know that Case and Alex actually did another test where they tested an electric motorcycle in a very similar fashion. They rode the motorcycle and then charged it in the bed of this truck. So we're doing the same type of route except with a car. So I need to track my fuel efficiency in a little bit better way. So you guys asked for this last time, so let's do this and track it. So this will be, I'll call it Spark. And this is going to be on the way out. I can do another setup once the Chevy Spark is on the trailer, and it will show us exactly what the fuel efficiency is.
Leaving the office here in Boulder, Colorado, you can see that the Spark is completely filled up. It's estimating 71 miles of range. If I drive it nicely, we can do up to 85 miles of range. If I drive it a little bit more aggressively, down to 56 miles of range. But 71 is what it's predicting right now at 100% state of charge. Andre, thank you for your help today. I really appreciate it.
Well, dude, I'm very excited. I wasn't able to do the first electric test with the motorcycle, and now we're doing this car.
This is a really interesting idea, Andre, because as the world becomes more and more electrified, we're going to run into interesting problems of cars running out of electricity on the road. And, you know, some of these new trucks now have the ability to not only tow these electric vehicles, but charge them at the same time. So I kind of feel like we're doing some groundbreaking work here.
Yes, I feel like I need to rename myself into you know, Mr. Plow. I'll be like Mr. Electric Tow.
I like that a lot, Andre. So we're going to use the same route that Case and Alex did when they tried this exact test using an electric motorcycle. So we're starting here in Boulder, Colorado, and then we're going to make our way up toward Longmont, have a little bit of city driving before heading towards some country highway.
So what's the total range on your car? Tell me about your car.
This is a 2014 Chevrolet Spark EV. It's kind of an unusual car. They didn't make many of these 2014, somewhere around 1,000, and they only sold them in California and Oregon. This is called a California compliance car to meet California CAFE, it's called, requirements, right? So California says you can sell your big heavy trucks as long as you also sell some EVs. So Chevrolet created this little electric vehicle. Now the EPA says that on a full charge, this car should be able to go 82 miles. but of course, that's not accounting for the Colorado hills, or 8 years worth of battery degradation, or 37,000 miles, or the temperature, right? So the car is saying 71 miles. I think we're gonna probably hit about 68. What do you think?
Well, considering all the other electric vehicle testing we've done and the age of your car, I would say, I would actually go lower. I would say like 64-ish, 64.
And what's the temperature outside?
Well, my truck says 75 degrees right now, but it's actually warming up.
Right. So to be brutally honest, Andre, I do not want to bake in here for the next hour and a half, so I have the AC set to 70 degrees with the fan speed on low. I've made sure the tires are properly inflated, and yeah, let's see how far it'll go.
And also, at the end of this video, we're going to talk about exactly how the truck did on fuel efficiency, because I created a single profile for the empty trailer, and then once we get it loaded and charging, I'll create another profile and we'll compare the results of the trailer towing and the Ford efficiency.
Now, I feel like electric cars can be somewhat of a mystery toward folks that have been driving gasoline cars for their whole lives, and that makes total sense. But really, electric vehicles are so simple and the concepts are so easy to understand. Really, charging an electric car is kind of like filling up a bucket with a hose. Now, the rate at which the water comes out of the hose is similar to charging speeds. We measure charging speeds in watts, and actually, in an electric car, there are so many watts, we just simplify them to kilowatts. 1 kilowatt is 1,000 watts. So for example, plugging in an electric vehicle at home using a 110 volt outlet, you're probably going to pull somewhere around 1.7 kilowatts. That's very slow. That's kind of like a trickle of water coming out of a hose. Step it up to a 240 volt like you find on a dryer plug, that's going to increase to somewhere around between, I don't know, 8 and 10 kilowatts. Now we've got a nice stream of water coming out of the hose. And then lastly, you go to a DC fast charger, which you may have seen popping up around cities. You can charge 50, 100, even 250 kilowatts. That is like a big stream coming out of that hose. So that's very simple. Now we kind of think of batteries like water in a bucket. How much water is in that bucket? We measure that simply in kilowatt hours. It's kind of like gallons of gasoline in a car. So for example, this 2014 Spark EV has a battery pack rated at about 19 usable kilowatt hours, or at least it was when it was new. Compare that to a Tesla, which is somewhere around 90 to 95 kilowatt hours, obviously a much larger bucket. So really all we're measuring in this test is how much of the water we're using out of the bucket, how many kilowatt hours we're subtracting as we drive along, and then when we use the F-150 to charge it up, what the rate of the water going back into the bucket is and how much we can fill that bucket up as we tow the Spark EV back, charging it as we drive along. Andre, so we're here in Longmont. It's been 11.6 miles of driving. I have used 2.2 kilowatt hours in the little Chevy Spark. And I have to say, this car probably is not all that interesting to some of our traditional truck viewers, but it does have a party trick. Do you know what that is?
It has a hitch.
It does not have a hitch, but because it's a full electric vehicle, it has quite a bit of torque. And when I say quite a bit of torque, I mean 400 pound-feet of torque. Yeah, that's right, Andre. 400 in a front-wheel drive hatchback.
Wait a minute. That's as much torque as in some V8 powered pickups.
Exactly, and this is a tiny little front-wheel drive car. 400. Now the horsepower rating 140, but it is a torque machine. But the funny thing is, they have to artificially limit the torque at slow speeds so you don't tear the front tires off every time you try to accelerate. The Chevy Spark is single speed, there's no traditional transmission, so what they do is they just limit the torque using a computer, so you don't really get the 400 pound-feet until about 35, in which case you're like flying as fast as you could ever imagine in a tiny car, and the steering wheel is, you know, trying to be thrown from your hand because all this torque steer. But on a launch it doesn't feel that crazy until about 35, and then all the beans kick in at once.
But I gotta tell you, from the rear view, your car looks a little bit like a clown's car.
It is not an attractive automobile, and the electric blue is definitely an interesting choice, but it's super fun to drive, I have to tell you what. You know, with the EV truck wave coming, or at least hopefully coming, I'm really excited to see the insane torque and towing capabilities that we'll be able to test in electric vehicles, because if this is any indication, you know, that's pretty cool. We're in the city, and funny enough, electric cars actually do better in the city than on the highway. They're more efficient. because when you're moving at slow speeds, it's not like a gasoline engine where you're, wasting all this fuel idling. Electric cars are really efficient going slowly, so this is going to help, but as soon as we leave the city portion, it's going to be right back to 65, 70 plus mile an hour speeds.
There's also something in common between these two machines, my F-150 and your Spark.
Oh yeah, what's that?
It's regen braking. Right now I am running in all normal mode, so just standard, not towing, because this trailer is so low profile, just rolling normally, and I do have regen and I am gaining some energy. I have a 1.5 kilowatt hour battery on board.
So the Chevy is supposed to have a 21 kilowatt hour battery on board, but here's the thing, Andre, kilowatt hours are pretty similar to gallons of gasoline in a traditional vehicle, but they're somewhat different in that if that Ford has, for example, a 36 gallon tank, you can use all 36 gallons, right? You're not going to harm the fuel tank, whereas you can't use all 21 kilowatt hours of this battery or you'll create serious harm to it. So they limit you, I think in this case it's to about 18 or 19 kilowatt hours. So there's always a slight buffer so that when you drive it dead like we're going to do today, you don't damage the pack by bringing it all the way to empty.
Yeah, that makes sense. But of course I don't want to run my truck fully dry either. I mean, but yeah, that makes sense to preserve kind of the life of the battery.
And that's the other thing too we should talk about, right? We have heard, and we've heard horror stories of some of these electric cars needing battery replacements because over time the batteries degrade. They just are able to hold less and less energy. I'm curious to see how much energy we're going to be able to pull out of this pack. And the cool thing is the Chevy tells you how much you've used. So ideally, based on what I've seen from some of the forum members, we should be able to see 18 kilowatt hours used. But of course, that was 8 years ago. Right now we're at 2.7 and we're at, 80-some% state of charge. So we'll see what the health of the pack is like too today.
Cool, dude. And actually I'm showing about 19 mpg right now with an empty trailer. 19.
One of the cool things about the Spark EV is it has a fully digital instrument cluster, which was, pretty unique for a 2014 model year vehicle. And it shows you some pretty interesting data. So for example, as I accelerate, this little chart shows me how much power I am using. So there you can see as I accelerate 18, 19, 24, 25 kilowatts as I accelerate harder. But then even cooler, as I decelerate, it shows me how much power I'm regenerating back into the battery. Take a look. So as I lift out the throttle there, 1, 8, slowing down, 15, 16 kilowatts back into the battery. Pretty cool. Now I do have to say I'm a really big fan of these affordable, small, used electric cars. From a technology standpoint, not really all that impressive. Compare this to a new Tesla or a new Mustang Mach-E. There's nothing here that's really all that cool, but they're so affordable in the used market. We bought this one for $7,500. They always have low mileage because the range isn't that impressive. They're typically very simple, really nothing to break, almost no service on them, and they're so fun to drive. It's hard to express how instant torque can change the driving experience. Obviously the gasoline Spark wasn't exactly the pinnacle of driving pleasure, but the electric one with 400 pound-feet of torque meant that this thing was the ultimate sleeper. The steering's pretty good, and overall, just a riot. For $7,000 to $8,000, typically what they cost, it's hard to do better. So the circle is almost full, which means that the battery is almost depleted, or fairly close. We're at 20% state of charge remaining. The little indicator has gone yellow there. It says 13 miles of range left. Doing 68, 65 here on this highway. It's all uphill. I'm very curious to see if at any point we turtle, which is basically where the car says, nope, can't keep doing this. You're gonna have to slow down. But so far it's not turtling. We're still cruising along at highway speed, which is what we want to see. 12 miles remaining.
And now we left Fort Collins. We're climbing up towards Laramie, Wyoming. And right now it's at about 5,700 feet.
8 miles remaining. Yeah, everything's working. I don't see it. Oh, here we go. The vehicle battery is low. Would you like the radio to power down in order to conserve energy? That's funny. I'm not listening to the radio, but sure, I'll say yes.
So wait, are you still using a little bit of AC, air conditioning?
AC is still blowing. Oh, it's blinking at me, Andre. It says charge vehicle soon.
Well, I'm curious, you know, I want you to get as close to nothing as possible.
Right, 10-4, I guess we'll just keep going. Oh, it's slowing down. Propulsion power is reduced, it says. I'm still doing 60, but it's not quite as happy, that's for sure, Andre.
Well, we're almost to Wyoming. Hang on there.
All right, I have an idea, Andre. Do you see this road coming up? I'm going to pull over here onto this smaller road just in case this thing dies. I don't want to be on this main highway. Does that work for you? The computer says we have used 13.9 kilowatt hours. And percentage, right about 4% remaining.
All right, yeah, let's turn off on a side street, like a side highway, and let's keep going a little further.
Hey, I'm still cranking. This beast is still going.
So that means the original estimate was pretty spot on.
Yeah, I think we may even hit 70, 71. Okay, that's 67.4 miles. Now it says 3 miles remaining. Getting nervous. It's blinking at me. Climate control still works though. AC still is blowing cold. I had it turn off the radio to preserve electricity. I don't think that does much, to be honest with you, but hey, we'll give it a whirl. Here comes the rain, of course, which is coming in right when we need to load it up onto the trailer.
I mean, we're going normal speed, about 55, so from my perspective, nothing is wrong.
All right, it's having us take this little county road. Now we're on dirt, Andre. We're gonna squeeze every last inch out of this thing, huh? 1 mile remaining. A maximum of 1 mile if I drive it nicely, and a minimum of 0 miles if I drive it aggressively. Isn't that funny? 69.8. Come on, Carl, let's hit 70. Still accelerating, albeit not very quickly. We are in the middle of nowhere out here. This is pretty wild. It's used 14.7 kilowatt hours. I think it'll probably conk out about 15, so it's lost probably 3 kilowatt hours over the last, what's that, 7, 8 years? This car's 8 years old now. That's not crazy. We're still going though. It says we are at 1% state of charge. It's 0, that's it. Out of energy, charge vehicle now. It's still driving. It's still driving, but I don't know if we should push it any further. 0%, 0 miles of range, no battery. Oh, it's turtled. That's full throttle, 28 miles an hour. All right, I'm calling it. Andre, I'm calling it. We're out of electricity. It'll only go about 25, and that's as far as I think we can take it. Well then.
Well, we're next to a very beautiful gate, so we're all good.
It did die in a beautiful area. I do have to say that. That's true. How far did we go? Battery saver active. 70.4 miles, baby.
It's a total mile.
Andre, 70.4.
You did better than both was expected.
Dude, that's nuts. And look at that average, 4.8 miles per kilowatt hour. There's nothing in the battery. You can see here in this little indicator, we've used 99% of the charge, but really it's 100 because it's dead. Climate control's turned off. I think we're going to have to actually probably charge it up for just a little bit before we can get it on the trailer because it is dead. So let's engage the F-150.
We went 70 miles, like you said. 18.5 mpg. This is with the trailer, okay, with nothing on it. I was just following you. 18.5 mpg. I think that's pretty good for 3,000 pounds. Now let me redo the profile and start charging. Just a note that this crew cab 4-wheel-drive F-150 hybrid cost me about $52,000. That was the sticker price. I got a small discount. As part of that is this, an optional 7.2 kilowatt charger, and it offers basically 30 amps 240 volts power, which means I can plug in something like this and use our charging unit to send power to the car.
So Andre, if we wanted to, we could use a standard 110 outlet.
We could.
But those charge really slowly, so we've decided instead to use our 240 volt EV charging station. The issue is they use this NEMA plug, which does not directly fit into the F-150. The F-150 uses like a generator style outlet,
yes.
so we have to run an adapter.
Okay.
And let's see if that works.
All right, let's do it. And it also has a bit of a lock, so it doesn't get unjiggled, you know, and it won't come out. So it has a bit of a lock right there. Now the truck should be asking me whether I want to send power. Let's go check it out. Generator mode. Your engine will continue to run to supply power. Do it outside. Yes, we are outside. So then I can also go to Pro Power on board, and I can see everything is enabled. So turning the power station on.
Ah, it came to life.
Okay, can you see that? It's a lot of glare. Mostly a lot of glare. Now let me plug it in.
Come on, car.
Please work.
Please charge.
Please work, you little blueberry. Oh, I see a red light.
So it's gonna turn yellow, and then if it turns green?
Yes! Yes, it's starting to charge. Okay. So tell me, here's a question. How much power can it accept?
Well, Andre, so the deal is it's rated to accept 3.3 kilowatts.
Okay.
And to find the kilowatts, you multiply the amps times the volts. But we don't actually have to do that because the F-150 will tell us.
Yeah, let's look. Let's look. All right, let's check it out here as it starts raining. 1600 watts on both sides of this inverter generator. So together 3.2 kilowatts, which matches what you said, right? About maximum, we're sending maximum amount of power that the car can accept.
And the engine turned on.
Yeah, the engine turned on because it's now trying to generate energy into the buffer, into the battery here, as it's raining, to send the power to you.
All right, well, so what we'll do, let's hang out here for maybe 5 minutes, try to get enough charge in it so we can turn it around, drive it downhill, and onto the trailer.
Sounds good.
Well, now it's a downpour, of course. Always fun, but let's see what the little Chevy Spark has to say about this ordeal. I'm gonna hop on in here. Let's see how long the car says it will take to be charged using the F-150. Charge cord connected. You can see it's working on gaining electricity back into the battery. Let me go to the leaf setting here. Charging. It'll be fully charged by 7:30 p.m. Right now it is 2. All right. Okay. So yeah, it's not a very fast charging car. The tech has definitely improved since this car was brand new in terms of charging ability, but you know what? That's okay. At least we're sucking up some power, so we're gonna remain here for maybe 10 minutes, and then we'll go ahead and load it up onto the F-150. Well, I'll tell you what, the little Spark broke down in a beautiful part of the country. I mean, it's just gorgeous out here. So the charger has delivered half a kilowatt hour in 9 minutes. That should be enough to get us on the trailer. Hopefully that'll allow me some more access to some torque so you don't have to push it on. And then we'll plug it back in once it's loaded up and hit the road. All right, so let's get back in the little Chevy and drive it up on the trailer. Let's make sure to let me start it. And yes, we have drive restored. At the end there, it pretty much said no. You went into park, I went into park, tried to go back into drive, and it was like, no, you're not gonna be doing that. Propulsion power still reduced, but at least we have some, which should be good enough to get us onto the trailer.
For this towing project, I'm using our Gen Y height adjustable hitch. This is our latest Rebel X, and for towing about 6,000 pounds total trailer weight, this is perfect. It's also height adjustable. They're between about $100 and $160.
Let's do it! Up, 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 up. Slowly, slowly, slowly. A little more. Stop. Back up. We don't have enough clearance yet. You're on. Slowly. A little bit towards me. Okay, keep going towards me. Keep going. Slowly. You're doing good. Oops, hold on. Hold on. Back up a little. Back up a little. You need some, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. Hold it right there. Hold it right there. Okay, do it a little bit of momentum. Give it a tiny bit of momentum. You ready? Yeah. Hey! A little bit more. A little bit more. Stop. All right, Tommy, let's set up the second profile and see how the truck does towing and charging on the way home. So, add a new trailer. Check this out. So it reset my Spark tow and charge trailer profile to 0. So we'll know exactly what it is. There, it reset my Spark tow and charge profile to 0 distance. So we'll know exactly how the truck performs on the way back. All right, Tommy, as they say, welcome to the future, right?
Yep.
All right, let's plug in. We're all loaded. We are tied down. The car is secure. Is this good enough, you think? Right there?
Yeah, let's make sure that the box is on though. Box is on, the car beeped.
Car beep.
We're charging, buddy.
All right, let's check the F-150, okay?
Yeah, and we're gonna have to do something about this cable. I brought some zip ties, but we don't want that dragging on the ground.
Oh, no, you're right. So we should probably zip tie it here somewhere and to the frame here.
Yeah, and then we brought along a spare plastic toolbox. I put the little charger in here just to try to keep it out of the elements. What do you think? Is that gonna be okay?
Yeah, it looks good.
I just don't want to make sure I'm not putting too much pressure on there. Andre, so we know that the Spark will charge when parked, but can we charge it while driving?
Right, so right now, well, first of all, I'm monitoring the camera here. So let me exit. And we can see that we're currently charging. The truck is in park. And the big moment comes now, because I release my brake and I'm gonna put it into drive. And so far, let me start. Oh, wait, we have chocks, wheel chocks.
All right, cut.
Go into drive, let's see if it'll complain. And it's not complaining. In fact, the engine just shut off.
Yeah, look at that. We are charging an electric vehicle
While moving.
in a hybrid with the gasoline engine off. We are charging an electric car with an electric truck.
Yes, while the car is on the trailer. Who would have thunk? Oh, there, my engine just kicked on.
All right, so now we're charging it with gasoline.
Yeah. There you have it.
So Andre, we've been stuck in rain now for like the last 20 minutes. Are you a little concerned about all this power in the rain?
I'm a little concerned, but I know that, I mean, a lot of these connections are pretty watertight.
Right.
Except, well, I'm a little concerned.
So the connection into the car,
Yeah.
it's called the J1772 port. Those
Yeah.
are designed to be used outside in all kind of weather.
Okay.
Whether or not they're designed to be used in the rain at 65 miles an hour, not so sure about, but that one's probably fine.
Okay.
So the charging box, that's probably fine too.
We put it in the toolbox.
Yeah, and those are meant to get wet and all that.
Okay.
The connection to the adapter into the truck, I'm a little bit more worried about, but you got to figure that it was designed to be used in rain
Yeah,
as well.
and also in the bed, the connector into the truck, it has a little flap.
That's true. It's
on
got a
top
little
of
house.
it.
Yeah.
So maybe that flap is helping us just a little.
Yeah, but it's definitely, I mean, it's gone through my head. Luckily, the truck has got a breaker in it. The box
Yeah.
has a breaker in it. The car has a breaker. I mean, there's like a lot of fail-safes if there is a short.
Yeah, redundancy and all this stuff.
Yep.
So far, the truck is behaving well. Like you said, we're moving at about 65 miles an hour.
on the way home. And let's see, the mileage is bad, 9.4 mpg, but we were just climbing a mountain, so we'll see how it does when we get further.
All right, we'll check it out.
So Andre, I think a question that we're going to get a lot on
Yes.
this test is why not just use a generator? What are the advantages of using the inverter in the Ford F-150?
Well, you could, of course, right? But there are a few issues you have to overcome. First of all, the cost of a generator, right?
Yes.
You have to purchase one. For this car, for the Spark, 3.3 kilowatts, you could buy probably a generator that's 3,500 watt, right?
Sure.
But once again, that weighs quite a bit.
Right.
That weighs about what, 50 or 60 or 70 pounds, maybe?
I think one that's capable of a sustained 3.3 is going to be probably well
Probably
over
a
100.
Hefty one.
Yeah, pretty hefty.
Yeah.
And it's going to be quite expensive. The other issue, and we've encountered this a ton with trying to charge an electric car on a gasoline generator, the grounding problem. So EVs are really, really picky on how they're grounded, and they're really, really picky on the sine wave of the electricity that they receive. And if the grounding is even a little bit off, they won't charge.
All right, dude, we need to make predictions. How much range and how much battery did we regain after 70 miles of charging?
Oh, good question, Andre. So, first we should say the Ford had no problem. I mean, we've been holding 3.2 kilowatts this entire time without
We've
falter.
been looking at the screen, yes.
Yep. So I think we're going to be at about 35% state of charge, and I think we will have sucked up or provided about 6.7 kilowatt hours.
Okay, that's interesting. So we've been on the road towing this car and charging the car for what, an hour and a half?
Maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more. That we had to go through town, right?
Yep.
We went the same distance back to the office, about 71 miles.
Yep.
And I'm gonna go more. I'm gonna say we're gonna regain about 45%.
You made it back.
Okay, in the
Of the
battery.
battery.
Interesting.
Let's find out what it says.
I don't know what
huh?
that means as far as miles for the car, but let's just say 45%. There we go. So 13.9 mpg while moving, towing the trailer and charging the car. So we lost what, about 5 mpg.
All right, here's the moment of truth. Pull out that puppy. So we've been charging for an hour and 50 minutes.
Ooh.
It's delivered 6.13 kilowatt hours at 238 volts. The temperature is 96.3 at the charger.
So you were, did you say 6 kilowatt hours?
6.7, I said.
Dude, you were on the money pretty much. All right, little car, you made it back. Let's find out what it says, huh?
All right, 27 miles of range was off by 1 mile, and we're at somewhere between 30 and 40% state of charge.
So that's a pretty good result. So we recovered the car, rescued it, brought it back, and now you have range to go home.
So basically, Andre, we added 27 miles of range into the Spark after driving the Ford 70 miles.
Yes.
Not very efficient in terms of EV charging.
No, but if this car had a higher powered charger, I think the truck could have given it more, actually.
Yeah, we're at 3.2, 3.3. That's pretty wimpy.
Yeah, it is.
Well, that's because it's a melon of a car. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching.
And as always, go back to TFLtruck.com for all the latest news, views, and real-world charging recovery service reviews.
Thank you for putting up with me and my little dinky electric car.